let you know all of them tears gon' come and go. Baby, just gotta make up your mind that every little thing's gonna be alright.
Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming a ride operator Q&A. I put out a video asking you guys for questions about being a ride operator because all of last season I worked at Gulliver's Kingdom, which is a children's theme park in Matlock Bath. And I was going to go back this year, but obviously we are closed right now, so I can't go to work at the moment, which just makes me so sad because I miss it so much. It's like my dream job. I have loved working there. I just want to get back to work so bad and just get back to doing what I love and just, you know, it's like where I belong, I feel like. So oh my god, I'm missing it so much. So I put out a video asking you guys for questions about what it's like to work in a theme park, what it's like to be a ride operator. I also asked on my Insta stories as well, and you guys absolutely smashed it. I got so many questions. I wasn't expecting to get any questions at all, like, I'll be honest, because I feel like the kind of previous Q&As I've done, I've not really got like that many questions because I'd usually get sort of more questions than usual. But you guys absolutely smashed it this time, so if you sent in a question, thank you so much. It is much appreciated and I love it when I get so many questions. And yeah, so although it does mean that this is going to be a very long video, so I apologise about that in advance because you guys know how much I like to ramble on. So I'd say get comfy, get some Yorkshire tea, and yeah, this is going to be quite a long video. If you're new here, hi, my name is Zoe, welcome to my channel. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. I also just want to apologise about the lighting as well. I know that it's not great. I've got like my MacBook here kind of shining some sort of light on me, although I feel like it's not really doing that much. And I mean, this is kind of just the best that I could get it really, because I haven't really got like a ring light or anything. I really need to get one of those. So I apologise about that. But that is enough rambling. Let's get into the video and start answering these questions. Okay, the first question is from Luca Giacob? Is that how you say it? I'm so sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I pronounce names so badly, like it's ridiculous. But basically, Luca asks, dream ride to operate. Now, I got this question quite a few times. Quite a few people asked this same question. My dream ride to operate is the big one. Like, I've seen, not really seen how it all works, but you know, like, you know when you're standing in the queue and you can see them like checking the restraints and everything, and you see them do like the thumbs up when they need to send it and all that. It's just, oh my god, like, I'd love to actually go up to the like operator's desk and see how it all works, and just like, even if it was just for a day, like have just a day of operating the big one. Like, I would love to do that. And like, I'd want to know about like all the testing that they have to do, all the checks that they have to do in the morning. Like, oh my god, I'd love it so much. And then I would also love to operate Icon as well. Like, Big One and Icon, they're just my two babies. I love them so much, and to be able to operate them would be an absolute dream. Don't think it's ever gonna happen because, like, for a few years, like, I did actually want to work at Pleasure Beach, but I don't know, like, I've been thinking about it, and I feel like because I love Pleasure Beach so much and it's like such a special place to me, I don't think I could ever work there because I feel like it could just like take away the magic. Like, if I worked there and then I had a day off and I decided to go to Pleasure Beach on my day off as just like a guest, it just wouldn't be as special to me anymore because, you know, I don't get to go to Pleasure Beach like that often. Like, I don't get to go every weekend, I don't get to go like every day. Some people go like every single day they're open, some people get to go, and I don't have that privilege. I mean, I'm very grateful because I do get to go quite a lot throughout the season. Last year I went like so many times, 2018 I went so many times, so yeah, like, I do get to go quite often, and I know I get to go a lot more than other people do. But you know, the fact that I don't get to go every weekend, the fact that I don't get to go every holiday, the fact that I don't get to to go every day. Like, you know, Pleasure Beach isn't like a 2-minute walk away from me. It's 2.5 hours. It can be like 3 hours sometimes if there's like traffic and whatever. So whenever I go, it's just so special because I have missed it so much. So the next time I go, like, I'm just gonna love it even more because I've been away from it and I live so far away from it that it just kind of makes it special every time I go, and it's like a holiday for me. And yeah, it's just that like special thing about it, and it's just like magical for me, and it's like a family thing that me and my family have been doing since 2014. Like, we've been going for years now. So yeah, like, I don't think I could ever work at Pleasure Beach, but if they ever like gave me the chance to operate the big one and Icon, or one of them, just one of them, like, a dream come true. Like, even if it's just like work experience, like, I would love to operate the big one and Icon. I feel like they're my absolute dream rides to operate. MGXL Gamer asks, favourite ride to operate and why? Okay, so my favourite ride to operate at Gulliver's Kingdom was the Zip Zag. It's a zip wire. You basically, like, you're harnessed up and then you're like clipped onto the back, and then you have to like run up this hill and then you jump off, and then you're kind of just taken around the area of the park. Basically, it's really hard to explain, but yeah, that is my absolute favourite to operate. I don't know whether you'd really call it like, I mean, it is a ride, but I don't like operate, like, I don't know whether that's the right word, because we have like the harness booth which people go to first to get their harnesses on, and then they come over to the platform, and that's kind of where it all happens really, like at the platform, because that's where the operators kind of do the job. So yeah, but I guess operate is the right term, because I'm still, like, if I'm on the platform, I'm still sort of in charge of that ride, and I'm still, you know, sending people off and whatever. I'm still dispatching people. So yeah, I guess it is. But yeah, Zip Zag is my absolute favourite. I know it's not like a press some buttons kind of ride. It's not like a roller coaster or anything, but I just love that ride so much. I don't even know what it is about that ride. I just feel like it's so special to me, and I feel like because it's a ride that is so hands-on, like, there's always something to do, because that is the busiest ride on the park. Say that we have like 50 people pre-booked, all of those 50 people will no doubt come to Zip Zag, and it's all at the same time as well. So it's very rare that you'll catch a break on Zip Zag, but I kind of like that because I love always doing something. I did operate the parrot ship for quite a while, which I still did love, but I found myself getting bored really easily, because it was like, okay, I press a few buttons, check the restraints, whatever, do all that jazz, and then I send it, and then whilst it's going, I'm just sort of stood there not really doing anything. And like, the parrot ship has like a long cycle, so I stood there for like ages and I just wasn't doing anything. Like, obviously I was keeping my eye on the ride, and I was keeping my eye on the people on the ride and whatever, like I was doing what I was meant to do, but I found myself getting bored so easily. So when I had the chance to be trained on Zip Zag, I was like, yes, this is my opportunity to get a break from the pirate ship and try something different. And to be honest, for the first few weeks I hated Zip Zag. Like, I hated it so much, but it's because I wasn't used to it, and it's because it takes a few weeks to kind of know what you're doing and whatever. But I have made like some of my best friends on there, and I just love that ride so much, because I now know what I'm doing. Like, I know Zip Zag inside out. Like, I could operate that thing with my eyes closed. So yeah, I do love that ride. And I think, you know, just the fact that there's always something to do, because you're always harnessing somebody up, you're always sending somebody off. If there's nobody at the ride, then you're always cleaning something, you're always checking all the harnesses. So yeah, I feel like that is my favourite ride to operate. Musical drama queen, this is Kaya, who is my best friend, and she has asked a lot of questions. When I said at the beginning of the video that I have received a lot of questions, half of them are from Kaya, so thank you, Kaya, if you're watching, for all of your questions. So instead of saying musical drama queen, I'm just going to say Kaya, because that is her actual name. So Kaya asks, how hard is it to get a harness on? It's not that hard. I found it hard for like the first few weeks, because it does take practice. Practice makes perfect, and I never really stood by that until now. I didn't realise if you actually practice something, you will get better at it. I was like, before I was trained on zigzag, like I was such a quitter. Like if I couldn't do something in like a day, I just like forget it and just move on from it. But my light's just gone off. But now I've realised if you actually practice something, like, and you actually keep it going and you're determined to keep doing it, you will get better at it. So yeah, honestly, putting on a harness isn't that hard. Once you know what you're doing, it's so easy. Like I could harness somebody up with my eyes closed. So obviously I'm never gonna do that because that's dangerous, but I really could, you know, like I know harnesses inside out. I've been to harness school. I've got like my little qualification thing. I don't really know if it's qualification, not a qualification, but like, you know, I'm qualified to put harnesses on people, if you get what I mean. So yeah, it's really not that hard. When I first set eyes on the harnesses that we use, and when I first went to harness school, I was like, what is this? Like I'm not going to be able to get the hang of this. Like I'm not going to be able to do it at all. And then in a few weeks I could literally put a harness on somebody with my eyes closed, because I just know harnesses now like inside out. So yeah, honestly it's really not that hard. Practice makes perfect. At my workplace, like there's always somebody there to help you. Like people could see, like my co-workers I was working with, like they could see that I was struggling a lot with the harnesses, so they helped me out a lot. And yeah, like if it wasn't for people helping me, I feel like I would still be struggling with harnesses now. But yeah, they're really not that difficult once you get the hang of them. Okay, so this next question isn't a ride operator's question, but the person commented it anyway, and I kind of feel bad that I'm like leaving their question out, so I'm just gonna answer it like super quickly. So Morgan Mayberry asks, how did you conquer your fear? And then I asked what fear, and he said roller coasters. He, she, I'm not sure if that person is a he or a she. How did I conquer my fear of roller coasters? I was basically dragged on the big one, didn't really have much of a choice. So that's how I kind of just got over my fear, really. I might do a video of like an updated video of how I got over my fear of like roller coasters and stuff, because I've done a few videos like that before, but not really like an updated one. So yeah, I'm gonna do that soon. But yeah, I was basically dragged on the big one in 2015 for opening weekend. And then in terms of like upside down rides, I was dragged on Rage at Adventure Island by my brother, and that is how I got over my fear. Okay, Drew Wadsworth has so many questions. So number one, did you ever have to e-stop the pirate ship or any other ride? Have I? Yes, I have. I've had to e-stop it a few times for just numerous reasons, like someone might have been sick, or someone was standing up, or there's so many reasons that you need to e-stop a ride. The main reason I think that I've e-stopped the pirate ship is because like a little kid hasn't liked it, so I've e-stopped it, let them off, and then just sent the cycle going again. Did you ever have to deal with any unruly kids and or parents? The joy about working at Gulliver's Kingdom is the fact that it is in like a I don't want to say like old people's area, but like, you know, we get a lot of older visitors, and because it's a children's theme park, you know, we don't get like a lot of teenagers, and we don't get sort of like chavs and whatever. We tend to get really nice people. I haven't had to deal with like that many sort of like rude customers and whatever. I mean, I've had like the odd one and stuff, and you'll get those days where people are just so rude to you like constantly because you're just having a bad day and whatever. But we don't get like that many. I've had a few people make some like remarks and stuff because I haven't let them sort of like stay on a ride because there's been like a queue and like the other people need to get on the ride and stuff. But generally we do get really nice people, and people don't really tend to complain that much. Did anyone ever get sick on a ride? Did you have to clean it up? So I remember once, it was a really quiet day, and I think it was like a really rainy day as well, and I was operating the pirate ship for a change, like from the zigzag, because at this point I'd been trained on the zigzag, and they put me on pirate ship for the day, and this woman came on, and by the end of the ride she puked up everywhere, and I can't stand sick. Like, I mean, who can, you know? But I can't deal with sick. I get sick really easily, so like I have to be careful of what I eat, because if I eat like the wrong thing, I'll be sick. If I go off my healthy diet, I'll be sick. And if I eat late at night, I'll be sick, you know? Like, I get sick so easily. So the fact that this woman had just puked up everywhere, I was like, oh, okay then. So I picked up the phone, because there's like a phone at every ride. I picked up the phone, I called up to the office and I was like, someone has just been sick on my ride, can you please come and clean it up? It wasn't like there wasn't loads of sick, but there was a bit there. Like, it was, yeah, it wasn't great. It wasn't just like a little, like, sprinkle. Sprinkle isn't the right word, but you know, there wasn't like a lot of sick, but there was quite a bit of sick. And I was like, I'm not cleaning that up, because like they said to us, like an induction and stuff, like if you don't want to clean up sick, that's fine, just call up and somebody will come and do it for you. So I called up and I had to wait like 15 minutes for somebody to come and clean it up for me, and it's one of the worst experiences I've ever had being a ride operator, because I just can't deal with sick. But luckily somebody came and cleaned it up for me and it was all fine. But yeah, that was not a pleasant experience. On the high ropes course, did any guest ever get scared, and did you have to help them or encourage them to complete the course? So as well as being trained on zigzag, which is the zip wire, I was also trained on what we call the crow's nest, which is a high ropes course, and I was only on it for like 1 or 2 days. I hadn't been trained on it for very long, because they trained me on it towards the end of the season. I don't really know why, because there was only like a week left of the season, but yeah, I was trained on that and I was only on it for like 1 or 2 days anyway. We did get a few scared people, but it was mainly like the little kids that were scared. And I remember my first day when I was on it, I helped this little boy and his dad. His dad wasn't scared, but obviously he wanted to stay with his dad, so I helped him and his dad around the course, and I was like, you can hold on to me, it's fine. And I just sort of let him like hold my hand and whatever, and I just helped him around the course. And yeah, like that was just like a really nice feeling, knowing that I've like helped this little kid like conquer some fears. I also helped this little kid go all the way to the top level, because we have like 4 levels, and I helped this little kid go all the way to the top, which was a really nice like feeling. So yeah, like you do get a few like kids that are scared on the high ropes course, but because like if you explain to them the fact that they've got a harness on and that's there to protect them and we're always here to help them, it makes them feel a bit more safe, and you just have to keep on like reassuring them. What did you do personally to make sure the guests were having a fun day at the park? Oh, personally, I remember once when I was on zigzag, it was a really quiet day and this family came, and I was in the harnessing booth and my friend was on the platform, and we had this family come, and they were quite like a big family. So the people that could go on zigzag, like the people that, you know, met the height requirements and stuff, they could go on zigzag and they went off. And then the rest of the family that either didn't want to go on it, or they couldn't go on it because they weren't tall enough, or they just didn't want to go on it, they waited in the harness booth with me because there was nobody else around. It was one of the most quietest days we've ever had on park. So yeah, I just told them that they could wait in the harness booth with me, and it means that when like the rest of their family has come off zigzag, they know like where to meet them and they won't get lost and stuff. And they had 2 little like kids with them. Like when I say little, they were like little, they weren't like babies, but like they were like tiny. They were like toddlers basically, but like little toddlers. And they wanted to try on a harness, and we didn't have a harness small enough to fit a toddler, because to go on zigzag you have to be 1.1 meters, so obviously means that toddlers can't go on it because they won't be tall enough. So we obviously didn't have a harness small enough, so but they wanted to try one on anyway, so I grabbed the smallest harness that we had and I just said like, here you go, you can try this on if you want, and it just made their day so much. Like they were so happy with it, and like they took photos with like the harness on their toddlers, and oh my god, it was the cutest thing ever. So yeah, that was just like a day that will always stand out to me, because I remember doing that and I remember them just being so happy that even though the harness didn't fit them properly because it was like massive, the fact that, you know, they could still like have fun with it and stuff just like made me so happy. Lewis Clark asks, what is your favourite ride? And my favourite ride is the big one, but unless he means what is your favourite ride to operate, then my favourite ride to operate is Zip Zag. Stuart Stevenson asks, if you could operate any ride in the world, what would it be? And like I said earlier, I would love to operate the big one or Icon. I don't really know like about other rides sort of like in the world and stuff in terms of like how they operate. Like I've not really seen anything like that, so obviously I'm not really sure, so I'm kind of just sticking with the big one and Icon at the moment. But I'm pretty sure if I ever did like go abroad one day and I went to an abroad theme park, then I would probably see how like some of the other rides work over there, and then I would want to operate them. It would be really interesting to go abroad and actually see how the rides are operated and see if they're kind of the same as they are like in the UK. Dan Cousins, is that how you say your second name? They ask, is the pay worth it? And to be honest, like when I'm doing my job, I don't really think about the pay. Like the pay isn't like great, but it's not like the worst in the world, like, you know. And so yeah, but because it's like my dream job and I find it so much fun, like I love going to work. Like I love it. It's my dream job. It's the most fun job I've ever had. And because it's so fun to me and because I love it so much, I don't really think of it as a job, but like I'm getting paid for it. So obviously it is a job, but I don't think of it like that, so I never really think about the pay. Like when it comes to payday, I'm like, oh, I've been paid for this. Like I sometimes forget that I'm being paid. So to answer your question, I'll probably say like yes, the pay is worth it, especially like in the summer holidays when we are open every day, because we only open on weekends and school holidays. So obviously it means kind of, you know, like throughout June we're only open on weekends, so I won't be paid that much. But like in August we're open every single day and I will be working pretty much every single day, so the pay is like a fab. But yeah, like I said, I forget that I get paid, and then when it gets to payday I'm like, oh yeah, I've been paid for this. So yes, but I would say the pay is definitely worth it. Coast to Course asks, what was your favourite ride to operate? Zip Zag. Like I said, I got this question so many times, but yeah, Zip Zag will always hold a very special place in my heart. Another question from Dan. He asks, has anyone been rude to you before? And like I said earlier, like, you know, you'll always get someone that isn't happy with what you're doing, that isn't happy with the way that you're operating. You can't please every single person, but we don't get a lot of rude people. I've had people sort of complain that like their child may be too small for the ride or something, but there's nothing I can do about that. I just sort of, you know, try to apologise to them as much as I can, and I say to them, you know, if you want me to get a manager, I can go and get them. Like whatever, I just try and do as much as I can to make them like happy, and obviously try and calm them down if they're getting a bit like angry. But yeah, like the main reason people may be rude to you is because their child just isn't big enough for the ride, but obviously that's just a rule that we have to stick to. Like we can't break that rule. Height restrictions are there for a reason, so you know, we're not gonna just go like letting your child on the ride just because you're getting like arsey about it. Like you can complain as much as you want. If your child is too small, they are not coming on. End of. Like move on to a different ride. Like there's rides that don't require any height restrictions. Go on them and then come back to the park when your child is big enough to come on some of the rides. Theme Park Awesome asks, if you did work at Alton Towers or Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which ride would you like to operate? So if I worked at Alton Towers, Oh, I don't know, because there's like so many rides there that I would love to operate. I would actually love to work at Alton Towers one day. That is like my end kind of goal. I'm only working at Gulliver's Kingdom at the moment because I can get there by public transport. My dad usually takes me, so he can like drive me there and back and whatever. But because I can't drive at the moment, it means that I can't get to Alton Towers because there isn't any public transport from Derby, and I don't expect my dad to drive me all the way there and all the way back every day, because, you know, Alton Towers are open a lot more than Gulliver's Kingdom are. So, you know, it's like I said earlier, like throughout June when we're just open on weekends, like it's not that bad because my dad only has to take me at the weekends. Whereas if it was Alton Towers, I think they're open like every day in June. So that means he'd have to take me every single day in June, and, you know, every single day sort of throughout the year basically. And I just, you know, I don't expect my dad to do that for me. If there was public transport, I would definitely go and work at Alton Towers like straight away. Even though I do love Gulliver's Kingdom though, so it's a bit like, I don't know, like I do want to work at Alton Towers just because it is like, they do have bigger rides that I would love to operate, because, you know, all the rides at Gulliver's Kingdom, like they're super easy to operate, they're really small. You know, but the thing is about Alton Towers, they don't have anything like Zip Zag, and they don't have a high ropes course or whatever, so I feel like I'd never be able to like work with harnesses again, which would kind of make me sad. But my kind of end goal is to go work at Alton Towers because I would love to operate like bigger rides, and I would love to have a bit more sort of like responsibility. Like my dream is to be a manager at a theme park. Don't really care what theme park it is, but I would love to be a manager at a theme park one day. Probably never gonna happen. I just feel like I'm not really cut out to be a manager, but whichever theme park, Gulliver's, Alton Towers, even Pleasure Beach, like I would love to be a manager. I just went off on a right tangent then, I'm so sorry. Okay, Alton Towers, I think I would love to operate Wicker Man or Galactica or Nemesis or the Smiler. The Smiler has harnesses. The operators have to wear harnesses. The Smiler. I would love to operate the Smiler. Or Oblivion. I'd love to operate Oblivion. So, yeah, maybe I do want to go work at Alton Towers. Midlands Theme Parks asks, what rides did you operate? So, I operated the pirate ship, the log coaster. I had training on the carousel, but I was never put on the carousel, thank God. But technically, I could operate the carousel. So, the carousel, Zip Zag, Crow's Nest, Magic Bikes, Party House. I think that's it. I'm trying to think of others, but I think that may be it. So 7 rides, which is quite a good going, because usually if you work at Gulliver's Kingdom, you'll probably be trained on like 2 or 3 rides. So the fact that I was trained on 7 rides was quite a lot. Yeah, I think that's it. And then Lewis Clark again asked the same question, what rides have you operated? The main rides that I was on sort of constantly was the pirate ship, Zip Zag and log coaster. I say they were the 3 main rides that I was put on pretty much all the time. Carla Ryan asks, what was your best experience as a ride operator and what was your worst? Oh, see, this is really tricky because it's like I said earlier, I love my job so much. So like anything I do, I just love it. So the best experience, once we had this guy come in, and I don't know what he was like shooting for, but he came in with like all of his like professional camera equipment, and he had GoPros and stuff. And I think he was like, he had like a meeting about something, and he was including Zip Zag in his like presentation or something. I have no idea what it was for, but he came in and he wanted one of the ride operators on Zip Zag to go around Zip Zag with a GoPro attached to the head, and nobody else sort of wanted to do it, and I was like, I'll do it, like I don't mind. So the guy strapped a GoPro on my head, and I had 2 goes on Zip Zag, and it was like when the park was actually open, and oh my god, it was so much fun actually like wearing a GoPro and having to go on it like two times in a row. Like oh my god, it was so much fun. So yeah, that was pretty fun. You don't get to do that every day, so yeah, I quite enjoyed that. I'm trying to think of like from a ride operator's perspective, like best experience. I don't know, I think just like the best experience for me is just being trained on the rides. So once you're trained on the ride, you have to be assessed on that ride just to make sure that you actually know what you're doing and that you are capable of doing it without somebody there and like without somebody telling you what to do. So I think just the fact that any time that I'd sort of pass an assessment, I'd be really happy with myself, because I'm like, yes, like I know what I'm doing, I can do this by myself, I'm feeling really confident with it. And because like, you know, I'm not a very like smart person, I'm not very intelligent, I'm not good at many things in life, the fact that this is something that I could do, I was like so happy with myself. And like, yeah, it's not the hardest thing in the world and it's not the hardest job in the world, but you know, operating like zigzag, like that took me like a good few weeks to get the hang of. I'd say that's like one of the hardest rides to operate on the park. And then also my, oh my god, okay, no, my best experience of being a ride operator is when I was trained on the high ropes course. Because it consists of 3 days in a row training, 9 AM to 5 PM every day, and we had to, the first day was just like theory, like there was a lot of just like copying stuff off of the board, and it felt like I was in like school again, like in a classroom. So yeah, a lot of it was just like theory, and then for the next 2 days it was all just let's get on crow's nest and let's start training. So we had to be assessed on the actual course itself. So we had to do an emergency takedown. So basically, if somebody was on the crow's nest and they had fainted, or there was like no way that they could get down the stairs, and we had to get them off that high ropes course quickly before something was about to happen, you know, something like dangerous, we have to do an emergency takedown. So that is basically what the high ropes course training consists of. So we did that for like 2 days, and then at the end of that we were assessed on, oh my god, this light is so annoying. We were assessed on how quickly it took us to do an emergency takedown. An emergency takedown is actually really difficult, so the fact that, you know, I kind of managed to do that, like I was quite happy with myself. And then at the end of that we had to do a written test, and if we didn't pass the test then we'd fail and we wouldn't be able to operate the high ropes course. And I think the fact that when I was doing the test I was like, oh my god, I failed, like I don't know any of these questions, like oh my god, there is no point in me doing this test, like I'm just gonna fail. And then I think it was like a week later I got back into work and they told me that I had passed the test, and I was like, what? Like, are you sure you've got like the right person here? Like, did you read the right test? But yeah, I passed and I was so happy with myself because I spent so long like revising for that test. Like I kept going through all of my notes. I kept asking one of my co-workers like, what does this mean? Is this right? Blah blah, whatever. I kept kind of like annoying him, asking him for like, you know, advice and stuff because he'd done the training before. So yeah, and I think, you know, I'd worked so hard for that test and I got so stressed out about it, and the fact that I passed just made me so happy. And it was like all of those like 3 days of hard work had finally paid off, and you know, all of that like revision and all of the stress and stuff, like it just, like it paid off and it made me so happy. My battery just died, so I apologise if the angle may have changed. But yeah, my worst experience was, so I was on the pirate ship in the morning, and then somebody came to take me off the pirate ship for my lunch break, and then they said to me, you're going to the party house after your lunch break. And I thought they meant I was going to the party house to cover somebody else's lunch break. So I was only going to be there for like half an hour. So like I'd left my coat on the pirate ship, and my coat pocket had my watch in it. I was on my period at this point, so it had some pads in it. I had my drink at the pirate ship. So I went for my lunch break and then I went to the party house, and then I was told, oh, by the way, you're going to be in party house for the rest of the day. And I was like, oh, okay then. because it was such a busy day and we were kind of running a bit late anyway, because the party house opens from 12 p.m. till 4 p.m. Because the party house basically just has a ladybird ride in it, it has a small drop tower, and then it has this like fish ride which is very similar to the ladybird ride. It just like goes around in a circle. Like it's for like little kids. So we're not open for like very long because it never tends to get that busy anyway. But this was like the first day of my period, and for me, on the first day of my period is like the worst day, because that is the day that I get my period pains, I feel sick, I feel like I can't do anything when I'm on my period for like the first 2 days, because they are like my worst days. And so I spent that whole day in absolute agony because I was in so much pain. I didn't have any like, I mean I don't take medication anyways, but you know, like I didn't have any medication with me, I didn't have a hot water bottle, I didn't have a bottle of water with me, I didn't have another pad that I could change into. Not that I really got a chance to go to the toilet anyway, because it was just like hectically busy. Like it amazed me how busy it was, because the party house never gets busy. But the one day that I'm on there operating those rides, because it's like there's 3 rides there, but like there's only one operator to operate all of those 3 rides. Yeah, the one day that, you know, I'm on there and I'm the operator, and the one day that it's so busy, and the one day that I am on my period in so much pain, they put me in the party house, and I had no, like, you know, I couldn't, to be honest, like looking back at it now, I could have rang up and I could have been like, I feel so ill, I can't like do this anymore, can I please just go home? But then I would have felt bad, because I would have had to call my dad up at like 1 p.m. to come and get me, and because it was so busy I didn't get a chance to get to the phone anyway. So yeah, I just spent that whole day in absolute agony. But now I'm looking back at it, like I could have gone to the phone and I could have rang up and I could have said, can somebody just cover me whilst I just go and take a break for like, I only needed like a break for like 5 or 10 minutes, just to, you know, go to the toilet, put a new, I had these like heat patches type thing, which were kind of like a hot water bottle, and you know, to put one of those on and to get a drink of water and whatever. Like I could have done that, because like the management we have there is like super nice, and they'll sort of like do anything for you. Dylan's Coaster Universe asks, what is your favourite aspect of working as a ride operator? I think just seeing somebody having fun and somebody getting pleasure out of riding the rides. And I think okay, I think my favourite part about it is helping somebody get over their fear of the rides, because we are a children's theme park, but like the amount of children that get scared of the rides is like crazy. So the fact that, you know, sometimes when I'm on Zip Zag, we get these little kids that like, 'cause you have to walk all the way to the top and then you have to sort of jump off this like platform, and to little kids, they don't really understand, you know, the concept of a harness. They don't understand the fact that they are completely safe and nothing's going to happen to them. Obviously that's quite a lot for a little kid to get their head around, and they don't really understand that. So a lot of kids, when they got to the top of Zip Zag, they just stop and they'd want to come back down again. So we always had to like run up all the way to the top to like try and persuade them to go. And whenever we persuaded them to actually go on the ride, that was just like the best feeling, because like everybody, like if it was a busy day and there was like a really big queue, everyone in the queue would be cheering that child on as well, even if they didn't know that child. Like everyone would just cheer them on. And I think, you know, when you've been part of helping them get over their fear, it's just such a nice feeling. And then when they get back at the end and they've actually enjoyed it and they're like, I want to go again, I want to go again, like it's such a nice feeling. Webmaster11 asks, was it boring doing the same thing all day, or was there more to it? So there is like a lot of things that go into being a ride operator than just pressing a few buttons and checking restraints and putting a harness on someone, you know, but obviously we can't really go into detail about that. I don't want to like give away anything I'm not supposed to. But like I said earlier, when I was on the pirate ship, I did find it quite boring. When you're on zigzag, you won't get bored because there's always somebody there wanting to ride it, even if it's not a busy day. You'll always have at least one person there wanting to go on it. So yeah, and I think that's kind of why I love zigzag, because there's always something to do and you always get people wanting to ride it. And you're always doing something, like you're always harnessing somebody up, you're always sending somebody off, you're always checking the harnesses. Like, I could go on and on and on. Steven29361 asks, do you had to emergency stop a ride? I assume he means have you had to e-stop a ride. Yeah, we've had to do it a few times. It just kind of comes with the job. You can't e-stop the zigzag because it doesn't operate like, you know, it's not like a piece of machinery, like it's manually done, if that makes sense. But yeah, like, you know, it just kind of comes with the job, like it's something that you have to do. The Pandora's9 asks, did you have to shout at anyone? You know what the general public are like. I've never shouted at anyone. I'm not a very shouty person, so like if I get angry at someone, I won't shout at them. But you know, because you're a ride operator, you have to remain calm and you have to still be nice to someone. Even if someone is like throwing abuse at you, you still have to remain like polite and smiley to them or whatever. Like if someone's literally there like, oh, like you're the worst operator ever, like not letting my child on this ride or whatever, you still have to stand there and you're like, yeah, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you know, you still have to stay like polite and still have a smile on your face, because you know, that's kind of what being a ride operator is. You have to give that like customer service and make sure everyone's like satisfied and whatever. So I've never shouted at anyone, but I have had to tell a few kids like sometimes, you know, stop kind of messing around. Or sometimes on the pirate ship some kids have decided to stand up and I'm like, no, sit your ass down. I've never said that, but you know, I'm always like, sit down, stay seated, thank you. You know, but you still have to be nice. You have to say please sit down and like thank you or whatever. Theme Park Days asks, what's the worst thing you had to tell someone off on a ride for? There's never been anything like really bad. I'll probably just say like some kids tend to stand up when they're on the pirate ship, especially if they've decided to go right at the back of the pirate ship. I feel like the kids sometimes, they don't think that we're like watching them, but we are. Like, you have to keep your eye on like every single person on that pirate ship. So when the pirate ship is like in full swing and whatever, and it's like at its sort of highest, a lot of the kids do tend to stand up, and it's like you have to sort of run over, you like, sit down, sit down. So yeah, like you try not to tell them off, but you know, you just have to sort of say to them like, stay seated please. Or like, if like what I tend to do is I'm like, I mean, I tell everyone to stay seated before I start the ride anyways, but if I see somebody kind of not listening to that rule and I see someone actually standing up, if they do it once, I'm just like, stay seated, and then they'll do it, and then most of the time they won't stand up again, they'll just stay seated, so it's fine. But quite a few times I've had some people continuously do it, and I'm like, stay seated, otherwise you'll be banned from the ride, or stay seated, otherwise you'll have to get off, and whatever. I don't really tell them off, I just sort of say to them, you know, like, stay seated or I won't be able to let you on this ride again, etc, etc. Okay, Car's channel has a few questions. The first one is, do you operate the same ride or is it switched around in a rota what ride you operate? So basically we have like a team brief in the morning before the park opens, and then the managers tell us which rides we are going to on that day. Once I was trained on zigzag, I was pretty much on there every single day, which basically meant that I had to be in work at 9 AM. The park would open at 10:30, but a lot of the time we'd had to be there for 10 o'clock, so obviously we had to do all the checks and the testing or whatever before the park opens. But with zigzag and even Crow's Nest, if you are on the morning checks, you have to be there for 9 AM because you have to check every single harness, you have to unlock everything, you have to check the high ropes course, you have to check the track around zigzag, you have to check all of the return gates on zigzag. Like, there's so much that goes into the morning checks. I wish people could see how much effort it takes to do a morning check on zigzag and do all the morning checks on crow's nest, because it's so much effort and it's so much work, and I think that just kind of proves how safe those kind of things actually are, because I see a lot of people, they kind of walk past and they're like, oh, it doesn't look very safe, I'm not gonna go on it type thing. It's like, babes, if you knew the checks that I've had to do on this thing, you'd know how safe it is. Yes, but the majority of the time, when I wasn't on Zigzag, I'd have to be there for 10 AM and then the managers would just tell me, Zoe, go to Pirate Ship, or Zoe, go to Log Coaster, Zoe, go to Magic Bikes, whichever ride I would be on that day. But for the majority of the time it would be Zigzag and I'd be doing the morning check, so I'd have to be there for 9 AM. Is it scary putting people's lives under your actions? It is, especially when, you know, I am on Zigzag, because, you know, I'm harnessing people up, and if that harness isn't put on them right, then you don't even know what could happen. So, you know, like, it is a lot of like responsibility, and it can be a lot of pressure to, you know, make sure the harness is right, make sure the harness is tight enough, and make sure that you're just doing your job properly, basically. But it's not like a massive amount of pressure, because, like, you know, I know what I'm doing with the harnesses, I know when a harness is right or not. So like, at first, for the first few weeks of being a ride operator, even when I was just on the Pirate Ship, like, it was scary, because it was like, oh, like, what if this happened and what if that happened? But like, the amount of scenarios you build in your head of like bad things happening never really happen anyway. So yeah, but I think when I was first trained on Zigzag, you know, the fact that I didn't really know what I was doing with the harnesses and whatever, that was quite scary. But you're never on your own on Zigzag, like, there's always somebody else there with you, because you need someone in the harness booth and then the other operator is over on the platform. So whenever I was sort of unsure, I just take them over to the other operator and I was like, can you just double check this harness for me? And then if they said it's okay, then it's fine, it's in their hands, whatever. Is it good pay? Like I said earlier, it's not bad, but it's not great. But because I love it so much, I don't really think about the pay. And the final question is, what's the training like? And they do a really good job of training us at the park. We don't really get a say in what rides we get to be trained on, but like, if there's a ride that like we really want to be trained on, I think we can ask to be trained on it, which I think is really cool. Like with Zigzag, they asked anyone, because I think they didn't really pick people from random. I think they kind of, because it's like a lot of hard work and it's a lot harder to sort of operate than, say, the Pirate Ship, I think they did ask for like volunteers to be trained on it, and I just felt like a change, so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. It's a challenge, it's something new. So yeah, I was trained on that and it was really good. The high ropes course training was 3 days. That was really fun. Yeah, training is just basically like, you know, you're told what to do, and you know, you get to operate the ride with like supervision and all that. And then like, once you've completed your assessment, like, you're good to go, they trust you with it and all that. Theme Park Awesome asks, what is it like to be a ride operator, and is there a lot of things to remember? I just dropped my phone. Being a ride operator is so much fun. I feel like anyone could do it, even if you're not an enthusiast, you can still do it and you will love it. Is there a lot of things to remember? Yes and no. Like, yes, there is, because obviously you have to remember all of the sort of safety procedures, and you have to remember how to actually operate the rides and stuff. Midlands Theme Parks asks, have you ever sent the same people again if there was no queue? Yeah, we tend to do that quite a lot at Gulliver's Kingdom. I remember once it was a really quiet day and I was on the Pirate Ship, and this family just kept on coming over and over and over again, and they were such nice people, and like, we joked about it and we were just like having a conversation and whatever. Like, it was so like much fun, like, oh, it was just great. So yeah, they kept on coming over and over and over again, which was really fun. Yeah, like, if there's no queue, like, you can just go again. Like, we're not one of those parks that you have to get off the ride and like run all the way around again, you know. So yeah, like, we can just let people go on if there's no queue, just over and over and over again. There isn't like a limit on how many times you can ride a particular ride. Like, you can ride it as much as you want. Kaya asks, what's the most difficult thing about being a ride operator? I think the most difficult thing is having to turn somebody away. So like if somebody came up to the pirate ship and they weren't quite big enough for it, having to turn them away is the most heartbreaking thing. A lot of the time, the parents and like even the child, they'll be like really understanding about it. But then again, you get those people that are like, oh, you should let them on anyways and whatever. So yeah, like having to turn somebody away from a ride is heartbreaking. On Zigzag, you have to wear like particular footwear. Like you can't wear open toe shoes, you can't go on it with bare feet, you have to be 1.1 meters to come on. You can't be over like 6'2" or whatever. And those people that don't meet those requirements, having to turn them away is, again, it's just so heartbreaking. I remember once I had to turn this child away because she was wearing sandals, and you can't go on Zigzag with sandals. And I had to turn her away, and I saw her crying like she went to her parents, and she was like sat on a bench just sort of like opposite Zigzag, and she was like crying her eyes out, and I was like, oh my god, like what have I done to that poor child? But you know, like it's just rules that we have to stick to. Like if I let her on, she could have trapped her toes, and if other people saw her go on with her sandals but I turned somebody else away that was wearing open toe shoes, they would have been like, well, you let her on, so why aren't you letting me on? You know, it's just like, it's breaking the rules, and I'm not going to do that. Like I'm not going to risk my job just for somebody that's like crying. But yeah, it's honestly the most like heartbreaking thing. But all of this information is on the website, and I actually did a video last week of what you need to know before visiting Gulliver's Kingdom. So if you want to know what like the rides require and stuff, then go and check out that video. Next question from Kaya. She says, what's your favorite thing about being a ride operator? Like I said earlier, I think just helping like little kids get over their fear of rides. Like I think just sort of watching little kids get over their fear is the most heartwarming thing, and it's so much fun, and it's the nicest feeling you'll ever get. Like honestly, it's great. What's your favourite ride to operate? My favourite ride to operate is Zigzag, as we have mentioned quite a few times in this video. How easy is it to learn to be a ride operator? It's pretty easy, I'm not going to lie, because the rides at Gulliver's Kingdom are quite small. They're really easy to operate, like it isn't that difficult. This is kind of why I want to go to like Alton Towers or something and work there, even if it's just for like one season, and then I go back to Gulliver's Kingdom. Like I want to have that experience of operating like a massive ride like the Smiler or like Galactica or something. So yeah, because I feel like it would be a lot harder than the rides at Gulliver's Kingdom, and because Alton Towers is just sort of always busy, there'll always be something to do. And yeah, I want to have that experience of operating like bigger rides. But yeah, honestly, it isn't difficult at all. It's really easy, you'll get the hang of it super fast. Laughs and Coasters asks, how long is the training per ride? So each different ride has a different like training hours, if that makes sense. So like the pirate ship, I think you have to be trained on it for 3 hours. I think it's 3 hours training, and then you have to be assessed on it for 1 hour, or your assessment will be longer if they feel like you've not got the hang of it, or if you're not like confident with it and stuff. I think Carousel is 3 hours training, or it might be 1 hour's training. Log Coaster is 6 hours training. Zigzag I think was 6 hours. Like it's different for each ride, and I think it just depends on how big the ride is and what goes into the ride and stuff. So yeah, it's different for each ride. High Ropes course was 3 days, so yeah, it's a very different variation on all of the rides. Okay, the final question from Kaya. She asks, what health and safety checks do you have to do before someone goes on the ride? So I'm not going to go into detail because obviously I don't really want to give it away, just in case Gulliver's Kingdom ever find this video and I don't want to get sacked over it. But you know, there is like a lot of health and safety checks that goes into each ride. Crow's Nest and Zigzag, take so long. Like zigzag honestly takes like an hour. Crow's Nest can take up to 2 hours sometimes. Like a lot goes into it. I feel like a lot more goes into it than people would originally think. So yeah, but in terms of like zigzag and like Crow's Nest, before somebody actually goes on the ride, we have to check their harness and just make sure that it's tight enough, make sure they're comfortable in it, make sure that the harness isn't broken in any way. Okay, the final question is from Ollie_F3RN_, and they ask, worst ride to work on. I'd probably say the carousel, just because when I was training I was like, I really hope that they don't put me on the carousel ever, basically, because it just made me so dizzy. Having to watch it go round and round and round again, like over and over and over again, made me feel so dizzy, and it kind of gave me a bit of a headache. So yeah, I'm really glad that they never actually put me on carousel after training me on it. So that is all the questions that I received. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much to everyone who had sent in a question. It is much appreciated. I hope this video gave you guys some insight to what it's like to be a ride operator, and just what it's like to work in a theme park. If you would like me to do another ride operators Q&A, then please do let me know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and I'll see you guys next Friday for a brand new video. Bye.